Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about the end of Striketober. Now, I have not made it much of a secret that I was not a fan of the hashtag and the term Striketober, because essentially what it did was take all of the labor actions that were going on around the country, compress them all into one giant sphere, and said, look, it's Striketober. Unfortunately, now it's November, and I'm forced to ask you, when was the last time you heard a national news coverage story about the ongoing Kellogg strike, or the ongoing Kaiser Permanente strike, or the union steelworkers that are on strike, or the coal miners that are on strike? Oh, you haven't heard any stories about any of them lately. Oh, that's right, because they tied everything up together with John Deere into Striketober, and now that Striketober is over and the John Deere contract is getting voted on, well, all those other labor stories just go into the wind. It's almost like I told you so. I mean, it's a good thing I'm not the kind of person to say I told you so, because if I was the kind of person to say I told you so, literally right now, I would be saying that I told you so. However, the end of Striketober does bring about the opportunity to maybe take another catchphrase or slogan that has been sort of languishing just under the radar and pushing it to the fore and seeing maybe if it can get a little more long-term traction than, you know, a hashtag that literally has a pre-appointed shelf life of 31 days. So, let's start talking once again about the Great Resignation. Here we go. Let's kick this off in Kentucky, which currently is the state leading the nation in the Great Resignation. More people are quitting their jobs in Kentucky than any other state in the country based on employment population. According to a new report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 84,000 Kentuckians left their jobs in August, which is 26,000 more than in July. Kentucky's quit rate, or the number of workers who left their jobs in a month compared to the number of people employed, was 4.5% in August, double that of Pennsylvania's and New York's. Quote, "The challenges in our labor market are complex," said Governor Andy Beshear. Some people wanted to say it was unemployment and the unemployment pay. Well, you can't get unemployment if you quit. Now, this here is a very good point, because I know there's a common trope out there. You know, the same trope about welfare moms and people being entitled and lazy and, oh, look, you gave these people expanded unemployment and, you know, now they can get like thousands of dollars a month for not working. So they're just going to, you know, quit their jobs and sit on their ass. But you can't actually get an unemployment claim passed and then collect unemployment if you weren't actually fired from your job for a reason, or if you were laid off, like, you know, due to a pandemic. Yeah, you can't just go like, I quit, and then collect unemployment. It's not a thing. That's not how that works. It's not even close to how that works. So where are all the Kentucky workers going? In addition to having the highest quit rate in the nation based on the number of people employed, Kentucky is one of the highest hiring rates, according to the same report. Plus, the state has the second most job openings based on worker population. More quitting, more hiring, and more jobs to choose from gives Kentuckians like Corey Bosomer more opportunities to select a job they believe is the best fit and use the openings as a chance to switch industries. Bosomer said that he's quitting his security job that he's had for more than a year. He told local news that the company he works for doesn't treat their employees fairly and offers minimal pay and few benefits. Quote, "I'm not going to stay somewhere that treats me badly just because it's a consistent job. I'm not going to do that." I think a lot of people now, Kentucky or not, are starting to realize that. Well said, Corey. Well said. Eli Mudd left his grocery store job 2 weeks ago because he didn't feel supported or safe at work. He's in between jobs, but already has a list of things he needs from his next company. Quote, "I will definitely look more for how the company will treat me because I've always been a very hard worker. It makes me really upset when I care about the company I work for and the company doesn't really care about me." Oh, looks like somebody else is having another light bulb moment. I am a fan. Bosomer already has another job lined up in a different industry. He'll start working in construction supply delivery. He said the company pays more than his previous job and has better benefits. Bashir told reporters on Monday companies might have to, quote, get creative when hiring potential employees, including improving worker conditions and possibly boosting pay. And so it would seem that the expanded federal unemployment didn't make people lazy. It gave them a moment to breathe and look around and realize that they were being treated like shit and getting paid shit wages at a shit job that didn't give a shit about them. And then they took that opportunity to shop around. You know, basic free market economics. Well, apparently labor is a resource, and that resource is in high demand. Ergo, the people who own that resource, the laborers, now have the convenience to shop their wares and search around for the best offer, right? Isn't that what the free market's all about there? Free market capitalists who are crying that people want too much money to work? Are you suddenly not a fan of the free market? And now we'll head over to Louisiana, where apparently there are more jobs open than there are unemployed people, i.e., labor as a resource is in high demand. I wonder how this is going to work out. Surrounded by the sweet smell of freshly baked cookies, Alana Edu, a baker at Insomnia Cookies in Baton Rouge, gave her notice last week after working there for about 4 months. She just quit. Adu, 19, said her grades were suffering and the low pay and time away from school at LSU weren't helping. She was making $10 an hour. Quote, I just feel like I could be spending my time better elsewhere. Well, yeah, if you believe that your time is worth more than $10 an hour in our current capitalist reality where, you know, even time, much like all of your skills and hobbies, can also be commodified? Yeah, is your time worth more than $10 an hour? If so, well then, you leave a job paying you only $10 an hour. It's basic economics. Edu isn't alone. According to the agency's October job openings and labor turnover survey, about 2.9% of the workforce voluntarily left their jobs last month. In Louisiana, 57,000 people left their jobs back in August. That's resulted in the number of job openings per unemployed worker reaching an all-time high at 1.3 jobs available for every one unemployed person. Quote, if you are currently employed, it's a very good time to move to some other type of employment because you'll likely experience a decent pay increase. And hey, all of us who labor, don't we all deserve to get paid more for our labor? Don't you think you deserve to be paid more for your labor? I would certainly hope so. According to the Bureau's report, nearly 7% of all the employees that left their jobs were in the accommodations and food services industries, meaning 1 out of every 14 servers, bartenders, and other hospitality employees like Adu are walking out. Because again, people had a moment to breathe and realize their labor, their time, is worth more than they are currently being compensated for it. Quote, in the United States, the labor participation rate is stabilized. It's actually starting to pick up a little bit in the last 2 to 3 months. But in Louisiana, it's actually the opposite. People just keep leaving their jobs. Also, the stoppage of extra unemployment benefits and other pandemic relief hasn't yet resulted in more people looking for work. In late July, the state stopped taking the $300 weekly federal unemployment benefit as part of the COVID-19 relief bill on top of the state benefit, which maxes out at a whopping $247 a week. Quote, I don't think cutting the unemployment benefits had much impact on Louisiana, but Louisiana is a low cost of living state. So people have been finding ways to survive by either relying on one income instead of two or relying on extended family. See, people aren't sitting at home being all lazy and entitled and getting checks from the government. They are just opting out of a low-paying workforce. They have come to the determination that their very quality of life is better having no income than having a meager income while breaking their back for 40 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Capitalism has literally crushed the desire to work out of tens of millions of people. People who, more often than not, have the worst jobs in society. The ones that require the most physical effort, the most mental boredom, and of course, the lowest pay. And people are looking now and seeing how much those jobs pay and looking at their quality of life, and they have decided to tap out. In the wee hours of a Saturday morning this past June, Mary Waters pulled into a grocery store parking lot in St. Louis. It was where she'd been working for more than a year, stocking the freezer section. Quote, I sat in the parking lot and I tried to will myself to go in, and it wasn't happening, so I just drove away. And she never looked back. Waters is one of a growing number of Americans who have walked away from their jobs in 2021, a record-setting year for job quits in the United States. Quote, I couldn't walk into such a dehumanizing, toxic place where we're all sort of just expected to smile and do small talk with each other and pretend like everything is going to be fine when nothing had been fine the entire time I was there. After decades of aggressively squeezing the working class, of keeping wages flat, of demanding more labor, of demanding more time, of demanding more availability, and people seeing that their lives had no chance of improving in their current situation, people have just decided that they're done. They no longer want to work the shittiest jobs for the shittiest pay to just get by and have the shittiest lives. And hey, wealthy shitbird capitalists out there, I know I spend an awful lot of time, addressing workers and members of the working class, so y'all might feel left out. But don't. I saved this story specifically for you. So if you're a shitbird capitalist and, I don't know, you're hate grudge watching this video, pay particularly close attention to this one. This might give you a tip as to why you're having such a tough time being a shitbird capitalist in this current day and age. You see the signs, hiring now, but the reality is businesses all over just can't find the people. Quote, extremely hard, said Vertillo's Pizza owner, Marlene Patrick. Everybody will call. They say they want to set up an interview, and then they won't show. She opened their new location 2 weeks ago, but it's not open all the way yet. Quote, what we're doing actually is if you walk in, we'll take your order, but we can't do phone orders. And it's a shame because we're losing thousands of dollars because of it. Oh, wow, you're losing thousands of dollars a week because you can't find labor? Huh, well, what is it you're doing in this market to find labor? Because again, labor is at a premium right now, and in the free market, there's a resource or an ingredient out there that's at a premium. Well, then you have to pay a premium price to acquire it. So surely that's what you're doing, right? Right, Marlene, that's what you're doing? Marlene says she pays every employee $8 an hour plus tip sharing across the board. Wait, you're offering $8 an hour? That's like a few cents an hour more than the minimum wage, right? Which is literally an owner's way of saying, if I could pay you less, I would. That's the bar. You're clearing it by like a quarter of an inch, and you're bemoaning the fact that you can't find good labor. She said it's close to $16 an hour when you add in the tips, but that still doesn't work. Well, no, because if you paid them like $16 an hour, then that would mean they were making like 24 with tips. And well, hey, for $24 an hour, you even have my attention, Marlene. She isn't the only company that's raised its wages in the last year to try to get more employees. Wait. Raise? Wait. What the fuck did she raise it for? Oh, minimum wage. She literally raised her wage from minimum wage to $8 an hour and then is crowing that she's aggressively pursuing labor. But, people are just lazy. They don't want to come in and work for such a substantially higher amount than minimum wage. Meanwhile, in the same area, a cashier at McDonald's starts out at $9.50 an hour compared to $8 an hour before COVID-19. Chick-fil-A pays $13 an hour compared to $12 an hour last year. But the shortage of workers in the restaurant industry continues. Quote, we're just trying to do the best we can. We've got to survive. Well, you just said before that you were literally losing out on thousands of dollars a week in revenue. And yet you're saying you're doing the best you can. But if you paid like $5 an hour more for 2 employees, full-time, that would still only be a few $100s a week, yet you would be making thousands a week more. So then you would be, oh, you just don't want to pay people more because you think their labor is only worth $8. Cool shit there, Marlene. Hey, Marlene, when your business goes under and then you have to go out and go get a job, just remember, you thought $8 an hour was totally acceptable. So what do all these stories mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, to start with, it means you have options. Lots of options. In fact, labor is at a premium right now, and you, my friends, you hold the resource, the valuable resource. It doesn't happen very often. Normally, shitty capitalists or governments usually own most of the resources and then dole them out at a premium to whomever they want to do business with. Of course, they make people pay, and then go, oh, well, there's nothing we can do. That's just the cost of doing business. Well, now you are the rare commodity. You are the resource with value. So for the love of God, people, do not sell that resource cheaply. If you are at a job somewhere and you think your labor is worth more, well, there are a million jobs out there. Go apply for some. Chances are you can end up with a better job, better benefits, and a better working environment because businesses now are doing everything they can to get people back in the doors. So you might as well take advantage of the current situation. After all, Striketober's over, and now we're going back to the Great Resignation. Bosses, you better start taking care of your people, because if you don't, it looks like they're going to resign. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.